Good morning, readers. Today we will be creating a goal for ourselves. Our learning intention today is I can create a goal for myself based on my pre-assessment. Readers, last week we read the story Papa's Parrot and we answered some questions about the story. If you remember, these were the questions, and you answered these questions on the back of this page. After answering the questions, we went through the answers together, and then you scored yourself. You gave yourself a 1 if you didn't answer it or you got the wrong answer, a 2 if you had a really short answer without evidence, a 3 if you were getting there, and a 4 if you had the correct answer and you had evidence to support it. Since then, your teacher has also read your answers, and they have also given you a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Take a look at your scores now. There should be a number next to each of your questions. Readers, each of those questions corresponds with a certain reading skill. We're going to look at this rubric and choose a goal on this rubric based on how we did on our reading assessments. There are 3 different pages to your rubric. Go ahead and take a second to look through the rubric now. The first page on your rubric corresponds with question number 1. This is the next page of your rubric. The top box corresponds with question number 3 on your assessment. The bottom box corresponds with question number 4 on your assessment. And then the last page of your rubric corresponds with question number 2. Readers, you are going to look at your pre-assessment, and then you are going to identify which question you got a 1 or a 2 on, or your lowest score. So, let's say that you got a 1 or a 2 on the first question. If that's the case, then you are going to choose a goal from that very first page of the rubric. Notice that I put a 1 under inferring about the characters and other story elements to remind you that that goes with question 1. And you will have 3 choices for your goal. To write about how the character is complicated. The second one would be to identify what's going on inside the character, such as their motivations and their wants. Or another option would be thinking and writing about the character and showing all that you know about their small actions and how that can signal something big. So again, if you got a 1 or a 2 on question 1, those 3 things are your option for a goal for this unit. Readers, if you had trouble with question 2, then your possible goals are on the last page. You're going to look under level 4, and your possible goals are to continue to discuss how and why the character changed across the story, to discuss the reasons for the change, to consider how other story elements, such as characters, setting, or problem, played a part in the change, or finally, if the character learns a life lesson, I thought about whether this is tied to the theme of the story. So again, if you had trouble with question 2, you're going to choose one of these 4 as your goal for this unit. Now readers, if you had trouble with questions 3 and 4, or 3 or 4, you are going to look at the second page. Analyzing parts of the story in relation to the whole is question 3. If that was hard for you to answer, then these 2 are possible goals. When asked to talk about the importance of a part of a story to the whole story, I named one part or aspect of the story, an event, setting, or minor character. Or the second one, I wrote about the importance of the part to the whole story. If it is in the setting, for example, I thought, how does this particular setting create a mood or explanation for the tension in the story? So either of those are possible goals for the whole unit. Finally, if question 4 was troubling for you, you are going to choose one of the goals right here. I wrote about a theme that comes through across most of the story. I can provide details from across the text that support that theme. Or I explained how the parts from across the story show this theme. You would choose one of those that you need to work on. Readers, right now, I want you to identify which goal you are going to choose and work on. When you have identified your goal, give me a thumb up. Readers, we are going to share our possible goal with our reading partner now. Readers, now that we all have a goal for our reading unit, we are going to write that goal out. So I'm going to do an example up here. Make sure you pay close attention while I do this. Please make sure your pencils and papers are not in your hands right now and that you are just listening. So let's say that I had trouble with the first question, and I chose a goal from the first page of the self-assessment rubric. So question 1 corresponds with inferring about characters and other story elements. And I had trouble writing about how the character was complicated and how they were more than one way, which is this first one right here. So that's going to be my goal. So readers, I am going to write in the first blank, my reading goal is to identify how characters are complicated. Notice that I'm taking the words directly from the self-assessment rubric. All right, readers, once I have filled that in, I'm going to go down to my next question. How will I get there? To reach my goal, I will... Readers, at this point, you kind of have to think about what you're going to do to reach your goal. So I decided that to reach my goal, I will write about the characters in my books and discuss them with my reading partner. Right now, I want you to think about how you're going to reach your goal. Give me a thumb up when you have an idea. Go ahead and share that with your partner now. Finally, readers, we're going to look at the final question. How will I know when I reach my goal? What evidence will I use to prove it? Readers, I know that I will have reached my goal when I have written about my character's multiple traits and have evidence of those traits. Readers, this means that I will have identified more than one trait for the character in my book, and I will have shown places in the book where they show that trait, or that shows evidence of that trait. Right now, I want you to think of how you will know when you reached your goal. Will it be that you'll have stop and jots to prove it? Will you understand how part of the story relates to the whole? Will you have written about how the author is trying to convey a message in your story? Think for a minute and give me a thumb up when you have an idea. Go ahead and share that with your partner now. Readers, before you leave the carpet, you are going to complete your goal sheet. Remember that your first part comes directly from the rubric. The second one is you thinking about how you can reach that goal. And the third one is how you've reached that goal. So what evidence will you have? When you have done that, you can put your goal sheet in your folder. Your teacher will be coming around to check your goal sheet. You can also put your pre-assessment and your rubric in your folder. That way, when you're reading, if you forget exactly what the expectation is, you can always look at your rubric. Readers, once you leave the carpet, you are going to read silently. And as you do that, teachers will be coming around to check your goal. Let's make it a great reading day.